want to hear a great story, guys? We're talking about the 70s, right? Listen to this, John. You're gonna love this. I win my show, and they send me out to Belgium and to France, and I'm gonna do a posing exhibition, and it's gonna be this thing from the Teenage Winter, and they put me with Serge Nubret and his wife Jacqueline at the time.
Wow.
Now I go to his house, and we're hanging out together, and I go to his gym. And I'm representing the United States for this thing that's going to happen. And it was in Liège, Belgium. I'll never forget. They send me there. What happens is I'm at Serge's house, and I think I'm not sure if I slept over that night, but I was there for a while. I was there for a week or two. And he gets up one morning, and I'll never forget this. He's eating. He has a big cup of coffee. Now, traditionally in Europe, they have the small little.
Right, the little espresso, yeah.
In a big cup. And he has these rolls, and they're like regular bread rolls, not croissants, but rolls. And he's dipping them in, and he's eating, and there's a hole. And he said, "Oh, you can have them." And I'm looking at him like, I don't understand. What are you eating? He's like, "Oh, we don't know the roll and whatever." I'm like, "Well, don't you do eggs?" He says, "Well, what do you eat?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm eating chicken egg whites." I made what? And he said, "You should have this. It's okay." And he lifts up his shirt, and he's ripped to the bone.
Man.
And he said to me, I'll never forget, he goes, "Could I ask you something?" I said, "Yeah," because it was kind of like we had just met. We were really getting friendly. He says, "Well, what do you take?" And I said, "Well, Anavar and Dianabol, and every so often I take Synthroid or Diroxin, whatever." He laughs. He goes, "No." He says, "Let me show you what you need." Goes inside, and he brings out plethrol, triacana, and all these exotic thyroids.
Never even heard of this stuff.
Yeah, the kind that you got to cut the top off with a saw. They come in a flat box about the size of this, actually about that size. Top is the powder. Under it is the solution, I guess the saline, whatever it may be. And in the middle is a little baby saw, this big. And what you do is you take the vial and you saw off the top. It has like a nipple tip. And you crack it. You extract it with the syringe, pour it in to the vial of powder, and shake it. You got to wait. Then you take it out, and you take the drug. He also gave me this. It's called that was plethrol and triacana, and he says, "Let me give you the cream." I said, "The cream?" He said, "Yeah, it's called triacana cream."
I remember that.
Astringent, and you put it on areas like between the bicep and between the pec. And then he gave me all this other exotic steroid stuff that wasn't never necessarily like a thyroid. It was Roxanne or Thymukase. And I went home. He sent me home with a suitcase full of these drugs. Listen, I took out all the drugs from the sheath it was in, and I rolled them up in my socks. And I went out and bought more socks, and I put them in the socks. And I rolled them up, and I had them in my suitcase. And I came back to the United States with all these exotic drugs. And this is, I'm not ashamed, this was what it was.
Yeah.
And he said, "You take those and you can eat all the bread you want in the morning." And that was like the holy grail. I'm like, I can eat bread and butter and dip it in my coffee.
Bread and butter.
True story. Because I saw him eating. I'm like, it can't be. Because you're ripped to them in my mind. I'm like the egg whites, and you can't have any sodium and salt. And this is what I'm drinking. And I had to stay somewhat in shape because I was doing a posing thing.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm going to have the cheval, which is horse meat, and the fries and the frites and all those. I'm in France. I'm in Belgium. This is what I want to have.
Right.
Because I heard of these wonderful foods. And it was my first trip to Europe, and he sent me back all of these drugs, and I couldn't believe it. His wife was beautiful and stunning.
Yeah, she was beautiful.
Oh, God. She was equally as in shape. I'm like, I said,
she was good. She had a great body. She was always in great shape. I'm a little envious. I always wanted to meet Serge Nubret. I mean, that guy was like a movie star out there in France and Belgium.
We trained in the gym, and he turned me on to all those exotics. And I forget. I think it was called. Oh, you know who I met? Yeah. What was the name of the cologne? Oh God, it was a cologne that started with a P.
Paco Rabanne.
Paco Rabanne was a chemist. He's the guy who gave him all that knowledge in drugs.
Wow.
So I met Paco Rabanne, and he was the guy who was supplying and making all that stuff.
No kidding.
And that was at Paco Rabanne, and that was like he was there, and I met with him, and all. It was craziness.
Bodybuilding Heroes and Legends Volume 1 by John Hansen is the book that celebrates the golden age of bodybuilding. This was the era in which legends such as Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sergio Oliva, Frank Zane, Robbie Robinson, Cal Skalak, and Mike Menser battled it out on stage for the biggest titles in bodybuilding. Read about some of the most exciting competitions that took place in the 1970s, including the Oliva-Schwarzenegger battles, Zane's first Olympia victory, and Skalak's controversial Mr. Olympia appearance, and much more. Filled with inspiring images of some of the greatest bodybuilders in the history of the sport, Bodybuilding Heroes and Legends Volume 1 is now available on Amazon.com, or email John directly at naturalolympia@gmail.com.